What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So the other day, Nintendo issued a fairly strange warning for Switch owners, and I think it's mostly the imagery that they used in all of this that really had people getting a laugh out of it, but it is serious business, and this is something that goes all the way back to the original Nintendo. We'll go over that, though, here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Square Enix and how it appears they're setting things up for more revivals of older intellectual properties based on a question that was posed to them with investors. And we'll also talk about SEGA, who absolutely buried blockchain gaming, which is probably a relief for many people, considering some of the titles SEGA has lined up for release in the future. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're going to start today with Call of Duty 2023. Surprise, there's a new Call of Duty coming out this year, although there were talks that it might have tried to be an expansion off of 2022's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. However, things changed in the background and it's morphed into its own standalone version, that apparently being Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Creative stuff, but it appears that Activision is making the rounds through promotional events behind the scenes showing the game off. We can see this posted up by Insider Gaming, where they say, over the weekend, players competing in the NBA Summer League in Las Vegas are being given an exclusive look at Call of Duty 2023, which could be revealed in full within the next month or so. I figure we're going to see it probably really at the end of this month or beginning of August if they are looking to launch it, say, in November, which is mostly when people are expecting, although it could be late October, very possible. But the fact that they are making the rounds now, and let's face it, a lot of the players, they're already taking pictures of the event, and it was mostly just Call of Duty signage. They didn't take a picture of the screen like that they're playing on, so they haven't necessarily given the game away, although we kind of know that it's Modern Warfare 3 at this point. I just have questions. How are they going to make this feel that much different than last year's Call of Duty? And what are they going to do about Warzone? Because some of the fans of the first Warzone really haven't been that happy with what Activision's been doing with 2.0. So will they be able to turn things around with 3.0? I guess we'll find out here in the coming weeks. Also, it looks like we have another platform that's received the Doom port treatment. This one, though, is the Atari XE, and there is a video that is posted up showcasing some of the gameplay, and it's pretty impressive, all things considered. Moving Doom to hardware like this isn't easy, and it's basically a cut-down version of the shareware Doom's levels, minus the secret level, but it does have 11 music tracks and 20 sound effects, and it does have cheat codes, and as you can see, it kind of still has that 3D panning effect to it, has exploding barrels, and so it's just fun seeing where you can get Doom to. And I know we've seen it on things that are even less capable than the Atari XL or XE, but still, another platform to play Doom on if you want. It is available, though, up online, so you can check it out there. You can, I guess, load it up in an emulator, or, I guess, play it on your own Atari XE, but pretty cool stuff just to see what people are able to do when it comes to porting Doom. Oh, and we have been talking about Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, mostly because it's been delayed multiple times and appears they're prepping for another delay into the first quarter of 2024. But they also will be showing off our first actual look at gameplay, that being on July 12th, so 2 days from now. And we can see this posted up over on VGC, who did get the confirmation from Naka, where they say the first gameplay images of Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown are set to be revealed next week. Publisher Naka and developer KT Racing have announced. Originally, it was screenshots, but as we can see, an update from VGC, a Nacon representative has confirmed to VGC that the stream will feature gameplay footage. And it's kind of strange to think about this. We've been discussing this game here and there as we've heard updates and delays, but we still have not seen even an in-game screenshot of it. It's been all CGI up to this point, but hey, at least in a day or two on the 12th, we will finally see some gameplay. I assume more than hopefully a few seconds of it, and then we'll probably get a new release date targeting the first quarter of 2024. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with this strange warning that Nintendo has issued to Switch owners, and it specifically has to do with the game carts, but this is something that goes all the way back to like the old days of, for them, the Famicom or the NES, those cartridges that you would, well, have to kind of play around with to get to work. And what would you do at times? You would blow into the cartridge side that would connect to the system. Well, Nintendo isn't a huge fan of that, and they're making everyone aware of that even for the Switch currently because they tweeted this out. And I think the imagery, I kind of got a laugh out of people online. There's like a Q-tip there. There's an exploding game cartridge with some clip art. And we have the cart itself with an X behind it. But the translation reads, inside of game card slots, there are contactors that read the game cards. If you try to clean this area with a cotton swab or insert a damaged game card, possibly damage the card reader. Please do not touch the inside of the card slot. If dust gets into the game card slot, use a vacuum cleaner to clean it. That'd be an interesting sight. Do not breathe into it or similar. Saliva may adhere to the contactors and cause rust or corrosion. I would recommend using some compressed air if you feel that there is something serious inside of the game card, really more than a few specks of dust, maybe a full-on dust bunny. I don't know. I'm looking at this as they have to be getting some extreme cases in terms of repair tickets or something where someone has just dumped water into it or full of spit into their game cartridge. It's not very likely that you would blow into your game cart and it would start rusting the next day. And this is something that goes back, like I said, to the old cartridges where we would blow into them, but really all we were technically doing was just reseating the cartridge because maybe it wasn't quite right before. Now, currently, if you pick up a Nintendo 64 game and you use a cotton swab with some alcohol or something, you'll probably get a lot of dirt off of there. But we're talking about back in the day when some of these cartridges were less than a year old. Now, as for the Switch, if you have a cartridge that has broken plastic on the back, probably wouldn't recommend jamming that into your system because you could misalign some of the pins, and it's something that has been going on since the DS because we had carts then that would also have broken pieces of plastic on the back, and it was worse at that time, especially with the DS Lite, because the cartridge slot soldered to the main board, so you had to remove it completely and then put a new one down. I did a lot of those, and it was really annoying, but as we got further along, and eventually to the new 3DS XL, if I'm remembering right, that was a separate board, and it was one that you would unscrew and just plug in, similar to what we have with the Switch. So, worst case scenario, if you do break your game card slot, I mean, the piece is like 20 bucks, and it's maybe an hour of work that's just unscrewing and screwing things back in. It has nothing to do with any kind of solder work now, which is much better. So it is a part that can be replaced. OLED, Switch Lite, doesn't really matter. That said, my advice is, yeah, don't spit into your game card slot. Also, don't jam a Q-tip in there. Probably don't put anything in there other than a card that looks pretty good. I figured most people knew this. It was just funny to see Nintendo go through the phase of some very basic clip art to make sure everyone knew on Twitter. Next up, let's talk about SEGA and blockchain gaming. It's hard to get through any of these investors' Q&A, these briefings, these financial reports without either blockchain coming up or metaverse. I mean, Square Enix had a fifth of their entire financial report dedicated to blockchain gaming and developing titles for that sector. SEGA has shown similar interest in the past, but now it looks like they're reversing course a bit. And this was during a Bloomberg interview, which we can see this over on PlayStation Lifestyle citing that interview. They say Sega's co-chief operating officer Shuji Itsumi says the company is abandoning plans to develop blockchain games for the time being. Quote, the action in play-to-earn games is boring. What's the point of games that are no fun? Yeah, that makes sense to me. If the game's not fun, you're probably not going to retain a player base unless they are specifically there to grind out currency, then take and convert to real-world money and basically transfer out of the game completely at that point. Now, they do say that they're at least keeping an eye on this, looking into whether this technology is really going to take off in this industry after all. And this has to do with different polls and surveys that have been had at GDC, and really the number of developers who are interested in like the blockchain gaming side continues to dwindle every year so far, right? So I think looking at the big crypto boom and how much money was getting thrown around, it was hard for any of these companies to at least not look somewhat interested to their investors. But now with what we're seeing when it comes to crypto being really beaten down kind of in the toilet, they're like, oh, this is easy. We can just say it's not fun and we can back away from it, which is good for people who heard about these super games and then heard about Jet Set Radio being floated, Crazy Taxi. you don't really want to get one of those games actually coming to market and, oh wait, it's tied up in all these crypto and blockchain gaming things that has a very predictable loop that becomes very, very tedious. After like the 4th or 5th time you do it, and it becomes very apparent that you're not really playing the game, you're just kind of playing the system in order to make money and transfer it out. And that's not to say that a developer, a company out there couldn't figure something like that out eventually. It just doesn't look like it's going to be SEGA who wants to take a shot, and they're not even going to have Sonic or any of their top tier franchises really intertwined with NFTs either. But that doesn't necessarily mean they won't take some of their lower tier franchises and try to do NFTs and stuff with it, because they do still seem somewhat interested in it. They're just concerned that any of that Web3 stuff could actually devalue what they have with their current top franchises like Sonic. And I think that's a good strategy for now, but let's see what these super games are all about. 2026 is the target year, apparently, for release of one of these titles, and good to know, at least for now, we won't be dealing with any kind of mining or weird crypto blockchain gaming things in our Jet Set Radio. Next up, let's talk about Square Enix, as they did have their gathering of the shareholders, and they came together to ask Square all kinds of questions about their business, and there were some pretty good questions in there. One in particular certainly caught the eye of the internet because they mentioned a game, but also asked about more remasters and collections, because people have legitimately been enjoying this run for Square Enix where they're looking back in time and bringing some of these titles up to modern platforms. Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters was received very, very well. We also hear some of the rumblings of Final Fantasy IX getting a remake, kind of Crisis Core level. And then we've seen them, of course, go back and get a lot of their other Final Fantasy titles, move them up. Even something like Tactics Ogre. Who saw that one coming? But take a look at question 6. This posted up over on the Square Enix, their investors relations page. It says, Final Fantasy 1 through 6 Pixel Remastered has been well received. Are there plans to remaster other titles? Personally, I would like to play Xenogears. Yeah, that's a great question right there. But the answer, we will refrain from sharing information about new titles, but we are considering various ideas within the company and hope that you will look forward to forthcoming announcements. So I fully believe right now Square is on this massive remaster bandwagon. I've asked questions consistently through polls on this channel of older titles that I remember very fondly, but also realize they're old. And there's a lot of people now who have never played them, which that's foreshadowing a poll coming up here. But I made a little list here of some games that I think they go back and get. And some of them, there are many people who have not played them. I mean, it would be like a 2% yes, I've played this on some of these polls. But obviously, Xenogears, it was asked, makes a ton of sense. I don't know if they would go the route of, hey, let's really dress this thing up and do the Crisis Core treatment to it. I would like to. I think that'd be really cool. And I mean, we've even seen what they've done with Star Ocean Second Store, where that looks great, right? Even that level of remaster remake, I think will be cool. Parasite Eve, obvious one. Even like a collection, I guess, would be fine, although the collection might be better. You just leave Third Birthday out. Terra Enigma, apparently there's some rights issues with that one. I don't know how possible that is, but I mean, we didn't even get that in the US. Kind of a Live Alive situation, which sort of goes into some of these other titles that I picked out. Treasure Hunter G, Bahamut Lagoon, Treasure of the Rudras. I mean, there are so many games that are just left in Japan that they have not localized, similar to Live Alive, that they could tap, do the HD2D treatment to, and probably sell 1 million copies. And that, I think, is the biggest part of this. This would be a strategy for Square to take that would, I don't want to say offset some of their really expensive games, because I do believe those games are breaking even and then even making money. I think Final Fantasy 16 will make money, right? I think 7 Remake and then 7 Rebirth will make money, but when you have a game that's lower risk, specifically a remaster, and kind of pushing into these HD2D games, and the expectations are lower, you can do many of those rather than just one big game. And I think that'd be really fun, because you also have the possibility of striking gold and having a bunch of people really enjoy a title, and then you go, oh, well, we can turn this into a series. You imagine if Bahamut Lagoon came out, they marketed it correctly, it looked good, sold really well, and they just said, yep, that's a series now. That's really the thing that I think would be cool to see Square Enix attempt, is to really put some effort in and see how the market responds. So here's hoping they have some creative ideas up their sleeves, similar to Live Alive. I mean, I just gave him a whole list right there. Square Enix, go wild. And in our last bit of news, we have a conclusion to the Yuji Naka insider trading saga. Of course, he was arrested twice, I believe, for insider trading. Had to do with announcements of different games. I know one was kind of in the Dragon Quest series. But he did receive his sentencing and all of this, and we can see this posted over on Polygon, saying he's given a prison sentence of 2 years and 6 months, as well as fines totaling $1.2 million for his role in an insider trading scheme dating to 2020. Now, the interesting thing is his prison sentence has been suspended for 4 years. Now, this means that if he can avoid jail time as long as he doesn't break the law, which, I mean, if he does, then yeah, he's going to jail. So, I mean, you can't get arrested a third time for insider trading, for example, and not expect not to go to jail at that point. But what's interesting is the judge noted that he had shown remorse for his crime, at least this according to GG Press. And, I mean, I guess he realized, you know, you created Balan Wonderworld and people are attached a name to that. You've suffered quite a bit here as it now. At this point, the saga's kind of closed then, I guess, provided he doesn't break the law over the next 4 years. He won't have to go to jail. $1.2 million in fines, but seemed like he made quite a bit of money from his insider trading. So I don't know if they're trying to even that out or just outright say, hey, we're making an example out of you from a financial standpoint there. But there we have it. Yuji Naka, as long as he avoids trouble over the next 4 years, won't have to do any jail time, and we can put an end to this entire insider trading Yuji Naka saga. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're gonna take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, have you played Xenogears? 83% say no, 17% say yes. This is what I'm talking about. There are some hidden gems from that Super Nintendo, Super Famicom, PS1 era right in there that Square can go back, pick these titles up, do the HD2D treatment, or who knows, maybe go really crazy and do a larger remake of it, and they can reintroduce it as a brand new game. Xenogears, for a lot of people, is a brand new game, and I would really like to see Square go do that. I would get a kick out of that one, but just so many titles they can leverage and call on here as smaller projects. So I'm really hoping Square sees the effect that they got out of Pixel Remaster, right? I mean, that we have Second Story coming up. Maybe that'll do well, hopefully, but I just would like to see Square continue along this path because it's been really exciting from a nostalgia standpoint, but also these games are still good. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Jimmy. He says, I will be very interested to see how Nintendo moves on to the next iterations of Smash Bros. And Mario Kart. Both of these games were such ultimate collections, I think it'll be hard to top them. Yeah, Mario Kart, I want to say it'll be easier than Smash because it's going to be tough to do Smash Brothers after Smash Bros. Ultimate with all those characters outside of Nintendo that joined. You're probably not bringing all of them over with the rights and all the stuff going on behind the scenes. People have mentioned that Smash may need a reboot, and I don't necessarily disagree. I think that might be the move there. But for Mario Kart, as long as they come up with a good concept for it, I think that's the game that you could probably do the Smash Brothers treatment to and maybe bring in characters and IPs from outside of Nintendo and treat it like a big celebration of games within Mario Kart. That'd be really fun to see, so hopefully Nintendo is ready to talk about that 10 years after Mario Kart 8 came out. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today, whereas Nintendo issuing a strange warning about people just spitting into their game card slot. Hey, let me know if you've had any issues with the cartridge slot on your Switch. And then also, what about SEGA just absolutely burying blockchain gaming? And then Square Enix looking to the past for some older games they can revive and bring up to modern platforms. What would you like to see them tackle next? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.